This is a show about jewelry, why we wear it, why it matters, how it's made, and what it means. I'm Alex D, and I turn cannabis into gold. I make mind-blowing jewelry in gold, silver, and platinum from cannabis plants here in Canada for stage, screen, for people who want to rock crazy jewelry. I'm the cannabis goldsmith. It's full on summer here now. All the leaves are on the trees. The grass is growing like crazy. I have to almost mow it twice a week now. Holy smokes. But the place looks beautiful. The river looks great. In the morning, I can see the sun reflecting off it. It looks bronze some mornings, and other mornings orange, like orange juice. And other times like silver. It's just really strange. Those of you who live by water know this, that it can be different every single day. And it is here, which is great for the work. Anyway, yesterday I drove up to Ottawa. Now, I'd never been to Ottawa by car before. I'd, driven myself. I've been once before someone else drove, but this time I drove myself. And the last time I went was last year in April, just as winter was ending. And I took a train up to spend, a week there pottering around and exploring. And I went to the National Gallery and did some other stuff there. I went to Parliament and poked around there. But this time I went by car, and it's actually not that bad. I was quite surprised. I got there quickly, and the traffic in Ottawa is just as bad as Toronto, only a little bit smaller. I went for the day, and I went to Parliament again, and there's a room in Parliament. And I think it's open to the public. You need to sign on to a tour, I believe, to get in to see it. It's the Hall of Remembrance. It's a room. It's this amazing room. I think Parliament's amazing anyway, because there's so many old buildings and museums and like just brickwork and wood carvings and all that kind of stuff. It's just a historical, it's Canada. This is Canada. When you're in Ottawa, you see these buildings and you see our history. But the Room of Remembrance, or the Hall of Remembrance, is this small room. It's not very big. It's maybe, 20 feet across. It has a domed ceiling, but it's not a high ceiling. It's low. It's a low ceiling. You can't touch it. It's beyond reach, but it's low. But it doesn't feel oppressive, as low ceilings often do. In the TV show Severance, director Ben Stiller talks about how in the set, he lowered the ceiling like a whole bunch of feet. He had the set designers lower the ceiling in that office building to make it feel oppressive when you are in it, If you've ever been in a room with a low ceiling, you know what I'm talking about. But in this case, the ceiling is low, but it's still not at arm's reach. But the funny thing is about it, when I was there last year in April, I thought there were stars on the ceiling, like holes cut into it, and there's light behind it shining through. It's like a dome, a false ceiling dome with holes punched into it. I thought they were stars, but no, they're blobs. They're like individually different shaped small blobs. And I was trying to figure out what it was. I was standing in the middle of this room. It's a small, quiet room with tables, old tables around the perimeter. And on these tables are books. And these books are hand penned and inked like you would do in the kind of the 1500s with colored inks and on these big, beautiful pages and gold leaf and stuff. It's all done by hand. And these books are open, and these books are filled with the names of the war dead. And every day, someone will come and turn the pages, solemnly turn a page on each book. And even if you don't know any of that stuff, even if you just stand in the middle of this little room, you feel it. Like the vibe is so, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. It's intense. But the ceiling is strange because it's It's like if you get a piece of paper and you draw little blobs on it, cut them out with a knife and cut little holes in it, just every so often, not a lot of them, every so often, and you hold it up to the light. This is what the ceiling is like, but a dome, right? So I was speculating aloud what it was. Like I thought it looked like in Canada in the winter, sometimes we have snow, these snow blobs when it's snowing. We get big snowflakes here, but sometimes you get really huge ones that you could see the detail in each snowflake. But sometimes in the winter we get these snow blobs where they all sort of join together into one like blob, and they fall heavily from the sky. And if you're the driveway shoveler, you dread those blobs because they're the ones that fill up the driveway quicker. But they're incredibly beautiful when they're falling. They don't weigh anything, but they're amazing to see in the wintertime. But I thought that's what the ceiling was. So I was speculating, okay, this ceiling seems to be, to me, these snow blobs. But there was this heavily armed security dude there with bulletproof vests and guns and everything. And he said, no. He said, it's meant to be sunlight coming through leaves on a tree, dappled sunlight. Like if you look on the floor, you could see vague light and shadows of it. But it's supposed to be light coming through trees, through foliage. And then I saw it. It was like, hey, hey, yes, they did this in stone. They punched stone. They carved stone out, lit it from behind. And this is what makes the ceiling so cool. Like, it's just cool. So anyway, if you're ever visiting Ottawa, go on a Parliament Buildings tour and see if you can get in to see the Hall of Remembrance. And now this same security guard told me that. He said, this isn't the real Hall of Remembrance, because the Parliament buildings we have now in Ottawa are temporary. The other ones are being renovated right next door. So they're in the building next door, and the Hall of Remembrance was moved, and they made it as best as they could in this new temporary location. But I guess in 10 or 15 years, whenever they finish the renovation of the real original, well, not the original, but the Parliament building, then they'll reopen the original Hall of Remembrance. And this security guard was telling me, our police officer was telling me, he said, that is just incredible. He said he had the opportunity to see it before it was closed for renovation. But he said that is like is next level. But I'm looking at the ceiling in this place and I'm thinking, fuck, this is next level. This is just so incredible what they've done here. But anyway, the floor of this room is black marble, I think. And every so often in it are maple leaves in what looks like silver, but it's probably aluminum. Like, I'm trying to figure out how they did that. So I've contacted somebody, an MP's assistant, to see if he could find out how they did the floor, because I can use a technique like that, make it smaller in a jewelry piece, right? I can get a marble, for example, a marble belt buckle and inlay silver into it, or a jade belt buckle with inlaid silver. This is what I'm thinking about the design of this floor. The moment I saw it, it's like, okay, I can shrink it all down and make jewelry out of this floor idea in this room. And also the ceiling. This is how jewelry design, this is how artists and designers work. They get ideas from other situations and they draw from life, right? And this is what I was doing yesterday in this room. I looked up at the ceiling once the security guard had told me what it was. And even my blobby snowflake idea doesn't matter, right? Whether it's dappled leaves or blobby snowflakes or stars, the effect is the same. It's deep and emotional and a connection to the land and the universe. It's incredible. So, getting choked up even now. Give me a minute. Okay. So I'm going to take that idea too. I think if I can figure out a way to shine light through a sheet, a gold sheet with another sheet behind it with holes cut in. I'm going to use this idea It might not be dappled leaves. It might be dappled cannabis leaves or something. But I'm going to use this idea in a piece of jewelry someday, hopefully. This idea of backlighting through it to project onto another thing. Like, it's just incredible when you see it. Anyway, but go see if you're in Ottawa. Anyway, Ottawa is looking amazing. Like, last time I was there, it was post-apocalyptic. It was after the trucker thing and the pandemic. None of the civil servants were at work. They were all working from home, so they weren't coming into town to spend money to help the businesses. It was terrible. It was scary even walking around Ottawa last April. But now, the difference, holy smokes, it was packed with tourists and sunny, beautiful summer day yesterday. People walking around, taking pictures, and literally herds of cyclists, 30, 50 of cycle tourists. They have these cycle tours where you go and you're led by a group leader and you cycle all around Ottawa and he describes what the place is about and stuff. I think that's a great way to see Ottawa. And it's not demanding cycling either. So it's not like the Tour de France or anything. You're just kind of, there's old people there too, right? So good thing to do too, if you ever go to Ottawa, is take a cycle tour with one of these downtown cycle places. The whole city was just lively and fun and full of tourists as it is. And it's so good to see it come back. I'm thinking, oh, man, what a relief. Because last year, it wasn't nice at all. It wasn't nice at all. I thought, man, I'm never going to come back here because it just sucks. But now it's like, oh, I can just hop in the vehicle if I need some kind of supplies or something like that. I can just nip up and get them and then come back. It's not that far. So what else did I do there? Oh God, on the way to Parliament, I walked past a Nordstrom, and all these Nordstroms in Canada are out of business, right? They're closing down. So they're having these sales, these closeout sales, where they're selling all the stock, of course, but also the fixtures. And I was kind of upset because I'm not in Toronto anymore. I was upset I missed the closing of Nordstrom in Toronto because I wanted to buy a mannequin or a Judy. And a Judy is like, I guess there might be a male name for a Judy, but I don't know. Anyway, a Judy is like like a chest mannequin on a stick. It's like on a pole. And suit makers use it, tailors. They put a suit. It's like a person's torso, but there's no head or arms or anything. It's just the torso on a stick, right, on a pole that stands on the floor. And what you do is you put a suit on it, and you tailor the shoulders or collar or whatever. It's instead of doing the needlework on a live person, which would suck, you do it on a Judy, right? So, and how do I know this? Because I had girlfriends who were fashion designers, and they taught me all this. So this is none of my doing. Trust me, I would have no idea what a Judy was if it wasn't for the girlfriends. Okay, now, I got 2 mannequins at Nordstrom. I was like on the way back from Parliament. I was walking. Ottawa's small. You can walk around, right? So I was like, oh, Nordstrom. So I went in and took the elevator up, and there was like, I don't know, maybe 20 mannequins up there. So I worked out a deal with the dude, bought a couple, and I walked them to my car, which I'd parked in an underground parking garage. Now, mannequins are like dead bodies, I'm sure, are hard to carry. They're they're awkward, right? They don't have weight, but they're just weird to carry, right? And mannequins come apart, like the legs fall off them, the arms. So I had to walk this thing. The big one is huge. It's like taller than me, right? It's like over 6 foot tall. It's jet black with it's like a modern face head on it and everything. The big one, and anyway, arms that move and legs. So I started trying to carry this, and all the parts legs started falling off, and arms, and like, oh God, I'm going to have to make 2 or 3 trips with this freaking mannequin to the underground parking garage, which was like 2 blocks away. And this is rush hour, right? Everyone's going home, waiting at bus stops and stuff. And I'm trying to weave my way through with mannequins under my arms, like pieces. I've got like a head under under my armpit and like a leg under. I'm like, fuck, it's just, God, I must look like an idiot. Anyway, I had to make 3 trips by foot, like from Nordstrom to the underground parking garage with all these pieces of mannequin, dropping them all along the way and picking them up, and like, oh my God. Anyway, I got them into my car. They're fucking huge too, right? So anyway, I got them in the car, drove them back, and put them together. So they're in the workshop now. Yay! Oh, what a mission! It was like, holy shit. Yeah, the mannequin. I missed the one in Toronto. I thought, man, I'll never get one of these. They're so expensive. Like mannequins are a new mannequin is like $1,500 or $2,000 or something. They're expensive. The ones you see in department stores or retail stores, right? So anyway, so I lucked out. I got them for really cheap. And the Judy is what I'm going to use I'm going to put, for example, a suit, jacket, put a shirt, a suit on it, and then start pinning jewelry on it just to see what it looks like, to photograph it and stuff. And I'm going to use this for the jewelry design for the award shows, maybe Grammys or Juno Awards here in Canada or whatever, so I can test what the pieces look like visually not on myself, right? Which was the problem. It's hard when you're designing on yourself. You need to design on someone else or another object to see what the object sort of looks like, right? Also, a tip I learned from Grayson Perry is photograph your art. Take pictures of it as you make it. And that way you can see it as other people see it, or see it from different angles. And you'll see stuff that you're not seeing when you're looking at it. It's gonna help you. This is incredibly important with 3D objects like jewelry or sculpture, right? Because visually you're not seeing the whole thing. You're only seeing one part of it. So take pictures of it with your phone. And I do this with my jewelry pieces. I'll like put it on a table, take pictures of it from different angles, and then I'll look at the pictures. They look different from the piece, and you'll get an idea of what the piece would look like from someone else's perspective, which is key, which is critical to what I do anyway, because my stuff is meant to be seen by other people, not put away in a drawer or whatever. It's meant to be seen by millions of people too. So I want it to be effective. I want it to communicate properly. I want the jewelry piece, the idea of the jewelry piece, the vibe of it, the design of it, the meaning of it, or the person to communicate through the jewelry. And I want that to speak loudly. So that's what I do. And in order to do that, you have to make sure that you're not being rose-colored glasses at your own work. You're looking at your work and you're thinking, fuck, this is amazing. This is terrific. But it might not be. I mean, because you're only seeing it from one perspective. So take some pictures and walk around it. Take pictures. Take the pictures of underneath and on top and around the sides. Take video too and move it around in light. And that way you can see how the light interacts with it and how it looks in life, right? In 3 dimensions. It's hard to see in 3 dimensions in a way. I mean, some people could do it. Like Picasso could do it. Or some of these really brilliant sculptors can do it. They can visualize like that, but most of us is hard. So use your phone. You have a phone, use it. It's a good way to use it. Thank you, Grayson Perry, for that amazing tip on monitoring your art. Anyway, oh yeah, what am I working on jewelry-wise? Look, we're almost entirely through this show, and I haven't talked about jewelry. I was talking about Parliament. If you're in Ottawa, do visit the Parliament buildings because it's historical, it's interesting. You'll love it. And go see the Hall of Remembrance. It's magical. Anyway, what am I working on now? Oh, God. Today, my goldsmith, Ed, is coming. He is actually in Ottawa now. So on his way back to Toronto, he's going to circle past here, and I'm going to give him some masters to cast for me in precious metal. Now, he's a master goldsmith, and I'm pushing him to the limit usually. I'm like, oh no, can we make this thing? And he's like, sometimes he's surprising. I think he's surprising himself by the amount of crazy shit we can do together. So anyway, he's coming by. If there's any way possible for something to be cast in precious metal, this man can make it happen, right? He's the master at this. So anyway, he's coming by to pick up some pieces, some master model pieces that will be lost wax cast in precious metal. And the one piece is my Egbert's cat charm for DJ Mark Farina's cat Egbert that I carved in wax last week. I could have sent it to him by courier to do in Toronto, but he's coming by, and it'll be nice to see him today. I get to show him the workshop and stuff. Jewelers like looking at other jewelers' workshops. Trust me. I mean, they like that. So anyway, he's coming by, so I'm going to give him all these masters to cast in precious metal that I've been working on. I'm still working on a double-sided mushroom ring. As soon as I finish this podcast, I'm going to go into the design workshop and finish it because I don't have a lot of time and I know he's coming. But here's how I work. If I can't do it to my liking, I'm not going to give it to him to cast because I won't be happy with the result. So I have to give him a good master model and I have to be happy with it and then give it to him to cast. And we know the limitations of what can be done now. I know the limitations of what can be done and we push it right to the edge, right, in design for these designs. These pieces, some of them are massive, like that we make, huge and complex in a cast, right? They're just really complex, like a sterling silver grinder, for example, with those sharp things in it. Like casting that, half of a grinder, like this is like difficult. So anyway, so he's coming by. I'm going to give him Egbert Farina's mushroom to cast. So hopefully next week we'll be able to see that in silver. So see how that looks. And I'll put a nice jump ring in it and we'll courier it off to Egbert Farina. I'm working on this double-sided mushroom ring, which is like an adjustable ring design I've made. And on each end of the ring will be a psilcybe mushroom cap. So think of a mushroom with a cap on each end and wrapped around your finger. And in order to make it adjustable, you just adjust it, like squeeze it in or out, and it'll adjust to your finger size. So I think this would be a nice product that could be easily gifted to somebody because you don't even have to know their ring size. You just have to know a range, right? And this ring will fit a range of finger sizes, like easily. So this design is great, but it's so much smaller than what I'm usually working on here at Tribe. So I'm wearing heavy magnification on my eyes when I'm doing it. Normally these huge pieces that we make, these big giant pendants, cannabis leaf pendants and stuff, they're big. You don't need a magnifying glass to do the work because the pieces are so huge, right? But in this case, I'm trying to make the mushroom caps as small as they can possibly be, but as accurate, with lots of detail. Like if you imagine a dried psilcybe mushroom with all those like ridges and I'm carving those features into wax, right? Into jeweler's wax and making small mushroom caps and wearing magnification on my eyes and like a respirator most of the times because the fumes, even though this is just like I'm working with a soldering iron basically, and a type of soldering iron at very low temperatures, very low, like 100 C boiling point of water or just above that, and scraping patterns, tiny patterns in the caps of these mushrooms that are maybe 4 millimeters tall. Like that's how small this shit is, right? So that's what I've been doing. And once I finish this podcast, I'm going to go and try and finish that double-sided psilcybe mushroom ring. And I'm going to try doing that one in 14 karat gold. It's a hard gold. It's harder than 18K. It's stiffer. So I'll have to talk to Ed about this. But I think for an adjustable sized ring like this, I don't know, 14 might be stronger. Like for this, I don't know, we'll see. We could go 18 or whatever. But I think it'll be a beautiful ring if I can get the master model done before Ed comes today to take it to Toronto and invest it in plaster and cast it. I'm also giving him, I've completed the master model of our turntable platter weight. I made piles of them. Believe me, I've made like 30 of these things. I'm calling them turntable ingots. They're small weights that fit on your turntable to hold the record onto the platter. Now, these turntable platter weights are mostly available in aluminum to consumers out in the world. You can buy them. They're not that expensive. They're like $100, right? And they hold the record down on your turntable. But I thought we should take this up a notch, right? We should make this better. I can make these in sterling silver, and they would be much smaller because silver is so dense. So what I've done is I've resized the turntable platter weight to where it fits in the slot in Technics 1200 turntable where the 45 spindle adapter goes. And it fits in there perfectly, and it looks great. And so I've made a master model in our special resin. It's ready to go. It's how the final piece would look in silver. But it's very heavy, and it's hard to cast in a centrifugal last wax casting setup. It's like a hot, it's a big chunk of metal. It'll be like 200 grams of silver hitting the base of the mold at speed when this thing is circling around, the hot metal, molten metal going in and hitting it. And all that metal at once hitting the bottom of the plaster might blow it out. And we don't want that. So this is going to be a tricky cast, I think. But if we can do it, the piece will be great for DJs. Like for people who are who have serious home setups. Like I know DJs, I know a lot of the more famous DJs have like just the most serious home setups. And they should too, because they're the best DJs in the world, right? Why shouldn't they? And that's how they practice. And they have piles of records and great systems. So this would be a product for them. But it would also be a product for these super high fidelity turntable aficionados who spend like $5,000, $10,000 on hand-built turntables for their perfect home audiophile setups. And these guys, if you're spending $5,000 on a turntable, you might as well get a turntable weight to match, right? You want something that can deal with that level of extreme audio quality and be very cool. Now, in this case, we can make them for you specifically. I could probably design something that would match your turntable in appearance or vibe, but we could still customize it with your own personal branding or your name. Now, that's the beauty of these things. If we can get this big turntable ingot to cast, and if it can cast properly, I'll be able to put a DJ name in the top of it or whatever. I think it's a great product, so we'll see. If we can get it to work, I think it's going to be an amazing product. Now, it's not for everybody, and they're going to be expensive. But it's something that a DJ could have forever for their whole life and then pass it on to their kids when they're gone. And it would have all the history of all the records and shit that they played under it, right? So it will have deep meaning for a DJ or an audiophile in the world and their descendants. So that's how I think about these products that we make. I think they're important. And I mean, people put their lives into them when they wear them or they use them, and then they acquire the vibe of the person who commissioned their manufacture or who bought them, and their vibe gets passed on when they pass that on to the next generation. So that's how I think about that stuff. I'm almost at my time now. I'm recording this on the day of again because I was in Ottawa yesterday and I got up really early this morning to record this. But I'm going to go right into the workshop now and start working on that double-sided mushroom. It's like 5 a.m. I'll give it my best shot, and hopefully before Ed gets here today, I'll have it done. But if not, I'll do it, and then I'll courier it to him, and maybe he can cast it in 14 or 18 karat gold. This is going to be an amazing ring, Just an amazing ring. And like all our stuff, each one will be different and unique and special and made in Canada. The Cannabis Goldsmith is produced by Tribe Communications, Inc. in the Thousand Islands area of Ontario, Canada. You can see what we do at tribe.ca. Send us an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Cannabis Goldsmith.